Did you know the Star Wars galaxy isn't just some random jumble of planets scattered across space? It's actually methodically laid out, just like a giant galactic city with distinct districts, trade highways, and untamed outskirts. And these regions shape every major conflict and storyline we know. So if you've ever been curious why Tatooine is so lawless, how Coruscant got so powerful, or why the unknown regions are, well, so unknown, sit back and relax. Because today, I'm going to walk you through the entire Star Wars map and show you how its layout changed the fate of the galaxy. Alright, let's first start with a quick overview. The Star Wars galaxy is massive, roughly comparable to a real-world spiral galaxy with hundreds of billions of stars. But there's a method to its madness. It's arranged in concentric rings radiating out from the core to the fringes. If you look at an official map, like those used by the Imperial, Republic, or Resistance navies, you'll see the galaxy is broken down into major, well-defined zones. This structure mirrors real historical expansions and frontier systems in our own world. So, in a sense, Star Wars cartography is basically an enormous cosmic reflection of how civilizations expand and explore. At the center, you have the deep core, a region that's challenging to navigate because of intense gravitational forces. Many of its stars are crammed together in a way that makes hyperspace travel downright terrifying. But once you step out of that deep core, you'll hit the core worlds, where we find places like Coruscant, Alderaan, before its destruction, and Hosnian Prime. Essentially, these worlds are the cultural, economic, and political powerhouses that have shaped galactic history for millennia. Move outward to the colonies, Inner Rim, Expansion Region, Mid-Rim, and eventually the Outer Rim. Beyond that, you've got wild space and the unknown regions, which are like the final frontiers. The idea that civilization evolved in waves from the central core outward, with certain planet clusters forming trade alliances or political blocs. What's truly fascinating is that each of these rings have a vibe of its own, just like how a modern city might have a well-to-do downtown, a business district, surrounding suburbs, then farmland, and finally untamed wilderness. But in the Star Wars galaxy, that untamed wilderness can be home to entire star nations, warlords, or undiscovered phenomena. It's the perfect backdrop for adventure, and it sets the stage for everything from the Clone Wars to the rise of the First Order. Let's talk more specifically about each zone and why it matters so much. These planets are at the heart of galactic civilization. Coruscant is the biggest name here, serving as the capital of various galactic governments: the Old Republic, the Galactic Empire, the New Republic, and beyond. The core worlds are heavily industrialized and generally quite wealthy, boasting advanced infrastructure, top-notch universities, and the elites of galactic society. It's where the galaxy's power brokers converge. Think of it as the New York or London of Star Wars, except times 1,000. Just a bit farther out, you'll find the Inner Rim worlds. By the time you get to the Inner Rim, you're still well within the galaxy's main trade routes, but the power, while formidable, isn't as absolute as in the core. Inner Rim planets enjoy a balance of industrial might and natural resources that the core sometimes lacks. They generally have decent representation in galactic governance, though historically, the core is favored in policy making. Going outward, you hit the Expansion Region, the result of early waves of colonization, especially after the core worlds developed advanced hyperdrives. Past that is the Mid-Rim, a zone containing a mix of flourishing civilizations, uncharted pockets, and crucial hyperspace crossings. These places can be extremely diverse. One planet might be advanced and wealthy, another might still be developing basic infrastructure. They're essentially the patchwork frontier transitioning into more distant territory. And then we have the Outer Rim, the notorious Wild West of the galaxy. Planets like Tatooine, Jakku, or even Lothal, which started off somewhat remote, define our image of rugged, often lawless territory. The Outer Rim is typically underrepresented, historically neglected by the central government, and it's rife with criminal elements. The Hutt clans thrive here, controlling entire swaths of territory known as Hutt space. Small wonder the Empire was so keen on fortifying these areas, lots of resources, minimal oversight, and strategic positions for controlling the rest of the galaxy. Finally, we hit wild space. These are worlds that are charted but exist on the outer edges with limited official governance. And beyond wild space, the unknown regions. Charted by few, navigated by even fewer. The unknown regions are full of gravitational anomalies, strange phenomena, and hidden dangers. Think of them as the final question mark in Star Wars geography, where major powers have rarely expanded successfully. We'll get deeper into that shortly. Okay, so how does this ring-based layout translate into the day-to-day realities of the Star Wars galaxy? Culturally, the core is the apex of galactic refinement. Most core world citizens take pride in their deep-rooted civilizations. Coruscant's skyline, with towering skyscrapers, is a testament to that. Outer Rim settlers, on the other hand, tend to be tough, resourceful, and suspicious of overreaching governments. Makes sense when help from the core is light years away. Even the accent differences among characters in Star Wars reflect social status, with an almost imperial, or Coruscanti, accent signifying higher class or formal backgrounds. Politically, the big influence flows from the core outward. When we see the Galactic Senate in the prequel trilogy, it's dominated by well-established core powers. The further you are from the core, the less clout you wield, unless you sit on a crucial hyperspace route or control an essential resource. Take the planet Ryloth in the Outer Rim. It often got overlooked until the Republic or Empire needed its spice supply. That's when governments suddenly remembered it existed. Economically, the core benefits from centuries of established trade routes, robust manufacturing, and top-tier starship production. Quat Drive Yards, near the core, is a prime example. While the Outer Rim is known for raw materials, like the mining on planets such as Lothal or Mustafar, and a black market economy fueled by the Hutts. Because trade routes from the Rim to the core can be lengthy and fraught with piracy, many Outer Rim worlds rely on self-sufficiency or local alliances to keep afloat. When you realize how many star systems exist in these layers, you start seeing how the politics of the galaxy revolve around resource control, shipping lanes, and the power to unify or oppress distant regions. The friction between those at the center of power and those on the periphery is as old as the Republic itself, setting the stage for conflicts like the Clone Wars. So if we have all these neat rings, why don't people just zip around the galaxy with ease? Well, in Star Wars, traveling through hyperspace isn't a matter of hitting a button and hoping for the best. It's about carefully plotting safe routes that avoid stars, black holes, and cosmic anomalies. Hyperspace lanes are essentially the superhighways of the galaxy. Famous examples include the Perlemian trade route, the Corellian Run, and the Hydian Way. These routes are major arteries that cut across multiple regions, enabling swift and relatively safe travel between distant systems. But guess what? They're also prime targets in any galactic conflict. Holding or blockading a chunk of a hyperspace lane can choke off entire sectors, crippling economies and restricting military reinforcements. Certain worlds lie at hyperspace choke points. For instance, Eriadu in the Outer Rim, Tarkin's homeworld, became strategically important precisely because it sits on a major trade corridor. When a government or a crime syndicate controls these choke points, they can levy taxes, demand tribute, or cut off crucial supplies. This is why controlling trade routes has always been a top priority for galactic powers from the Old Republic to the Empire. Star Wars hyperspace routes can shift or close due to cosmic events. Storms, supernovas, or gravitational shifts can render a once safe path impossible to traverse. Navigating new hyperspace routes is dangerous and expensive. Just ask explorers like the ancient Duros or Corellians, who built entire legacies on mapping out new pathways. So, even though spacecraft can traverse the galaxy at a light speed, it's not a free-for-all. Commerce and war hinge on these stable routes, much like maritime routes shaped Earth's age of exploration. Given this emphasis on hyperspace lanes and trade routes, you might wonder, why does the Outer Rim, with its huge territory, remain so unruly? A big reason is that the galaxy's early settlement focused on the core and areas with straightforward hyperspace access. The Rim's further flung systems were discovered and colonized much later, leaving them disjointed and lacking in strong institutions. The Republic historically poured its resources into stable, revenue-generating territories closer to the core. By the time Outer Rim worlds gained enough population or strategic interest, they were already overshadowed by the longer-established core worlds. And because the Outer Rim is so vast and scattered, local governance often falls into the hands of warlords, crime syndicates, or local big shots like the Hutts. With that kind of patchwork rule, you'll get entire planets living under a local gangster's thumb, while the big galactic powers only show up if there's a crisis or a valuable resource to be exploited. The minimal republic, or imperial presence out there, often meant one thing: lawlessness. Smugglers, pirates, and bounty hunters thrived along the lesser-known hyperlanes. Planets like Tatooine were effectively governed by the Hutts, and settlements could pop up overnight around mining booms or black markets. When the Empire finally cracked down, it was more about exploitation than genuine governance, which left the region no more stable than before, just under new management. Now we come to the meat of why this galactic map matters so much: the wars that defined it. Because Star Wars has never been just about random battles. It's about strategic moves shaped by geography. Take Kamino, for example. Tucked away in the Outer Rim and hidden by constant storms, its cloning facilities were the perfect place for the Republic to secretly grow its army. Meanwhile, Genesis, also in the Outer Rim, became a separatist stronghold thanks to its droid factories. Its remote position made early intervention by the Republic tricky, giving the Confederacy a head start on production. Mustafar, rich in lava flows, housed secret facilities where the Separatists retreated, perfectly suited for covert operations and Vader's final betrayal. And then there's Scarif, an isolated tropical planet chosen by the Empire to store top-secret projects behind a formidable shield, until a daring rebel strike unraveled everything. All these worlds shared one core advantage: their remote or specialized conditions let their factions develop massive military infrastructure away from the Republic or the Empire's immediate gaze. And that's how entire armies, fleets, or doomsday weapons were crafted in what seemed like the middle of nowhere. From the Empire's perspective, the Outer Rim was a goldmine of resources and a key to subjugating the rest of the galaxy. Controlling the Outer Rim was basically controlling the frontier. If you can dominate the major hyperspace lanes there, you can choke off any rebellion. That's also why the Empire built installations like the Death Star construction site near Genesis, far from the Senate's oversight and prying reporters. Despite wanting total domination, the Empire couldn't micromanage everything. The result? They often installed puppet governors or Moffs to handle entire sectors. Grand Moff Tarkin's focus on the Outer Rim was legendary. He saw it as the new seat of Imperial power. His so-called Tarkin Doctrine favored ruling through fear, particularly in these less developed regions that had no love for the Empire to begin with. When the rebellion took shape, it thrived in Outer Rim cells, away from the watchful eyes of Coruscant or core-based intelligence. Planets like Dantooine, Yavin 4, and later Hoth served as hidden bases. Their remote locations gave them time to plan and strike back without immediate retaliation from the Empire's unstoppable war machine. One of the most captivating parts of Star Wars geography is the presence of cohesive cultural or species-based clusters. Let's unpack a few of these patterns that really give the galaxy its lived-in feel. Firstly, the Mon Cala system houses both the Corran and Mon Calamari, species sharing a single watery planet but culturally distinct. Their alliances and conflicts stem from controlling different parts of their global ocean. Then, the Mandalore sector is home to Mandalore itself, along with nearby clan-based worlds. These worlds share a warrior culture that, despite internal squabbles, forms a notable power block with a storied history of conquest and independence. Finally, the Hutt space is effectively a criminal empire. Hutts have star systems under their domain, each operating under the Hutts brand of nepotistic rule. They're not united by strong ideology, but by economic interest and raw power. Finally, we arrive at the Unknown Regions, the place that keeps popping up in major storylines from both the Empire's twilight and the sequel era. So, what's the deal? Emperor Palpatine was obsessed with the Unknown Regions. Even before the Death Star was completed, he poured resources into secret mapping projects and sent expeditions beyond the edge of charted space. In the aftermath of the Battle of Endor, many Imperial remnants retreated there under his contingency plan, Operation. Cindy was part of it, but the deeper scheme was to rebuild and reorganize out of the New Republic's reach. This region's chaotic hyperspace routes and cosmic anomalies served as a natural shield against easy pursuit. Grand Admiral Thrawn hailed from the Chiss Ascendancy, a highly advanced civilization in the Unknown Regions. The Chiss possessed navigational secrets that allowed them to operate in these hazardous star lanes more effectively. Palpatine's fascination with Thrawn was partly about harnessing that advanced knowledge. Thrawn's cooperation with the Empire was, in turn, an attempt to secure aid for the Chiss, who faced their own existential threats from other unknown powers lurking out there. Fast forwarding to the sequel trilogy, and we find that the First Order rose from the ashes of Imperial remnants that fled into the Unknown Regions. Snoke's emergence, the construction of Starkiller Base, and the stealth rearmament of massive fleets all happened in this frontier. Because the galaxy at large didn't have deep knowledge of what went on beyond wild space, the First Order could gather strength without New Republic interference. By the time the Resistance realized the threat, it was almost too late. Put it all together, and the unknown regions became the new frontier of danger and opportunity for Star Wars stories. It's the place that births new threats, houses hidden societies, and showcases the next stage of evolution in the galaxy's power struggles. So there you have it, a galaxy built on concentric rings, trade routes, and distinct cultural pockets. The core stands as the seat of power, the Outer Rim thrives on rugged independence, and the unknown regions remain a cosmic frontier. Each faction and conflict is shaped by location, from resource-dependent worlds to hidden strongholds. Recognizing how hyperspace lanes, remote systems, and cultural clusters interact makes the Star Wars saga feel that much more real. Thanks for joining me on this grand tour of the galaxy. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives, and may the Force be with you.